Firstly, we have fleeing by boat. This is an often used way of transport by migrants because there are no borders in the water. But it can also be dangerous. They are often on a small boat with little food and water for a long period of time. It can also be dangerous because of bad weather. If it is too windy on the seas and the boat is not stable enough, the boat could tip over and they could die of drowning or hypothermia. Even though it can be quite risky, many migrants still use this way of transport. From 2009 to 2013, the top nationalities of migrants by sea to Europe are Afghanistan, Syria, Eritrea and Somalia. Next is migration by train. This is a less common way of transport because in many countries with a lot of migration there are not many railways, and if there are, they might not be open. Another problem you would face trying to flee by train is tickets and passports. You always need a ticket for the train or a passport when entering another country by train. Most migrants don't have either of these items when fleeing by train. But if a migrant manages to either get one or both of these items, or enter the train without them and without getting caught, they are good to go.
You can also migrate by plane. Usually the plane is used by rich people, as it is expensive to travel by plane. Migrant workers who are wealthier could also use the plane, but they usually don't have that much money. An advantage of the plane is that it flies quickly, so you can reach your destination quickly. A disadvantage is that there must be an airport nearby. Refugees don't usually use it, they can't afford it, and they can't get to an airport that easily. When refugees are already taking the plane, human smuggling is involved most of the time. The plane is a means of transport that is difficult to use for people with not a lot of money, and those are the people that want to migrate. That's why the plane is not the most popular by refugees and migrant workers.
Fleeing by foot. Some refugees flee by foot. They flee by foot if they don't have the money for any other transport, or that transport can't bring them any further. Refugees can also walk out of frustration, like in 2015. In 2015, there was a group of refugees from Hungary who wanted to go to Germany. To go there, they had to make a journey of 240 kilometers. Such a long trip can be exhausting and painful. The journeys of the refugees can be really long, and if they have not so much food and water, they can be underfed, or they can get thirsty. Then they will lose strength and it will be really hard to walk so much kilometers. When they are walking so much kilometers, there are many dangers that can be life-threatening. So, fleeing by foot is really exhausting and difficult. Fleeing by truck. Some refugees choose to flee by a truck. How do they do that? There are many possible ways to flee by a truck. But for an overview, we have set some possibilities on a row. For example, the truck driver wants to help the refugees, so they may sit in the back of the truck. What also happens is that the refugees don't have permission to sit in the back of the truck, and then they are still going to sit in the back of the truck. A real hard possibility is that the refugees, without the truck driver knowing or with the truck driver knowing, they are going to hang under the truck for a while. This is physically real hard and difficult. Fleeing by a truck is already very hard, and you can't eat or drink if you are hanging under the truck. It is also really difficult because of border checks. If a truck is by a border, it can be checked and then they could find the refugees. So it is very difficult to flee by a truck.
Many of the people who try to flee from their country due to conflict or economic issues do not have the proper documents like passports across the border, those people often contact human traffickers, people smugglers who provide them with fake passports or sell places on boats. These people smugglers are often run by criminal syndicates who exploit the people they smuggle for vast amounts of money, making it only cheaper by a tiny margin. The people smugglers want to have the least possible problems with the border patrols or coast guards they're smuggling people to, and try to sway corrupt guards in their favour by bribing or threatening them. The people they smuggle may also have to carry illegal goods over the border, like drugs, and are often caught doing so. So, how hard is migration really? That's a simple question with a complicated answer. If you live in the European Union, for example, you can freely migrate to any other member state. But migration between other countries, like the United States and Canada, that is harder. Refugees have it the hardest as not many countries want them. Ultimately, it depends on the countries you're migrating from and to and their laws around migration.